Hello, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. Thanks for joining me on X, on YouTube, and on Rumble. Today, we are going to be talking about Dan Bongino. A little bit my background with him, and we're going to focus on, like we always do, on leadership. And that is, anyone who's been in the military knows, especially as an officer, when you go downrange, there's going to be a time where the media, whether it's a foreign media, American media, is going to put a microphone in your face, whether you're a second lieutenant, a captain, a lieutenant colonel. They're going to ask you questions. That's why officers are trained on how to deal with the press. And one of the things you learn in the military, obviously you're not going to talk about classified information, but when you talk general questions, and they want you to be able to talk to the press because the American people have a right to know. But a key element is you stick within your lane, which is a sort of another way, not quite the same, but you stick to the facts, but still you stick within your lane. So what does that relate to Dan Bongino? I'm only going to stick with what I know about Dan Bongino, either one, from my interactions with him, at least indirectly or virtual, and then two, the facts of what happened. There'll be other people who may have interactions with Dan Bongino and say, hey, David, I think he's a good guy. I think he's a patriot. He did great things. It maybe so, because in part of leadership, nobody is 100% good, 100% evil. We all do bad things and good things, but you have to call the balls and the strikes. And so what do I think about Dan Bongino? Well, I just posted on X today, my fourth account on X. I've been censored many times, as you know, but on my fourth account on X, I posted an image, a Twitter feed of Dan Bongino and some comments. Let's share it, and then you'll know how this episode's going to go. So, 1 second. This is what do I feel about Dan Bongino? He's a piece of shit. And if you read, hopefully everyone can see that. Let me get to the screen right here. As you can see, on my first X account, and I should do an entire video on the attack of free speech that's happening in America. It's crazy. But when I first got on X on my first account, it was doing very well. It just got over 10,000 followers. It was really moving along. And lack of a better word, I was meeting a lot of people because until I got on social media about 2 years ago, I didn't know the people. We're going to get to Dan Bongino. But anyway, make a long story short, on X, which is very odd. This is a very odd thing to happen. Dan Bongino blocks me on X. And I could care less whether it's Dan Bongino or one of his staff, because Dan Bongino makes so much money. And ding, ding, we're going to talk about money with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino makes so much money. He's probably, I assume, he's got staff members helping him doing this. Doesn't matter. I could care less whether Dan Bongino did this or one of his staff members did that. Then you're a piece of shit with Dan Bongino. They blocked me, who is an American citizen, military veteran, former FBI agent reporting government corruption, specifically on the FBI. They blocked me, but then I think a week later or so, they unblocked me. It's very odd. So with that said and done, he probably knows about me, which makes sense. I wrote him many times to say, hey, I need help, this and that. He totally blocked me, and I'm gonna go into it why Dan is a piece of shit. Now, again, I'm not saying everything about him 100%. I'm sure he's done good things in the world for certain people and this and that. All I'm saying is from my lens of my interaction with him, and let the facts speak for themselves. And this is why I'm going to show you why Dan's a piece of shit. And we're going to talk about this. Hopefully you ever saw that. Feel free to follow me on Twitter if you want. It's my fourth account. So let me give you an example. I'm new to social media. I never want to do this. I've said many times, I feel like an ass clown on being social media. I went to the politicians. But anyway, when I got on social media 2 years ago, I specifically, because all the politicians ignored me, I said, let me go to people who could help me. So obviously, I specifically avoided people that are liberals, people, I'm just looking. Sometimes, guys, if I look to the comments, let me see some comments here. I see Giaffanti's. How long ago did this begin? Giaffanti, you got to specify how long ago did this begin. I'm not sure the question. Just restate it. But anyway, back to what I'm saying is when I got on social media, I specifically avoided liberals and, anti-military. It is what it is, but they're not going to help me. So I looked at the people who would support me. Who would support me? Well, I'm obviously a pro-Trump MAGA person, even though we're going to talk about MAGA and Trump. I'm not too highly impressed with them, but it's still the best there is. Pro-military, pro-law enforcement, and you get what I'm saying. Dan Bongino, when I got feedback, was you got to get to Dan Bongino. He's the person who will support you because that's what Dan peddles. He's pro-patriot, he's this and that. So I wrote him so many times that, hey, Dan, can you help? And this and that. Totally ignored me, blocks me, unblocks me. And what the problem with Dan, unlike you could say liberals, is if you're going to go out there and say you're a pro-patriot, you're pro-military, you're pro-law enforcement, you want to stop government corruption, you would do at least two things. I'm seeing here sure he disregarded you, and at the bare minimum, you could either ignore, send you info, somebody. So yeah, so Giovanni, so this is what I'm about to do because I'm going to lead by example. What you do is this. Now, again, if you're a liberal person, you're like, dude, I hate white men, I hate military. I got you. I respect your honesty. I don't bother you. Everything what Dan peddles, he should have had me supported me, but he could have done it in two ways. I'm going to show you an example here. One, Dan's got so much staff and so much money. One of his staff members could have reached out to me or responded to me, and they could have done a due diligence on me. Hey, David, you said you graduated from Harvard. Is that real? Let me see the diploma. Are you really an FBI agent? Which makes sense. He could have done all that, realized my story's true, and had me on the show. Or what he could do, which I'm doing right now, is maybe he's not quite sure who I am. Like me, I have no staff. I'm just by myself. And so maybe he could do at the very minimum, just post my information to his followers, say, hey, listen, I got this message from this guy, David Baumblatt. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's false, but I feel like this needs to go out to the public, and you, my followers, do some due diligence on this guy, David Baumblatt. Is he real? Is he not? Should I have him on my show? Now I'm going to give 2 points. I'm going to lead by example. I used to be on Facebook. I'm also suspended on Facebook. And I remember I would be posting to people saying, hey, can you help me out? Just post, no money. And I still remember this military veteran. He was enlisted. Again, I can't remember the whole thing because my Facebook's now been suspended. So I'm going on memory. But I really remember that person. I responded to him. I said, hey, I'm a former military, former FBI. Can you repost this message? I'm trying to get to the politicians. Why am I on the FBI terrorist watch list? Why am I not? Welcome back to America. Can you repost this? I remember this. He responded with one word, all capital letters, D-O-N-E, done. Remind me like the military, like those real men. He's like, done, which is what I would have done. Simple as that. So what happened to me? So there's a person on here. I believe his name is, let me look through the Giovanni's. I'll get back to your question 1 second. So there's a person on here called Edge. Edge, I think that's the name you go by. Edge went to me. He says, hey, there's this group on Rumble. I think it's called Veterans Against Treason. I'm going to show you. And oh, by the way, the Veterans Against Treason, I'm forgetting the person's name. We're going to show the name. He never even asked me to post this stuff, but it's the right thing to do. Now I'm going to show you this person's Rumble feed. Again, these are, you could say, fellow military veterans who are also fighting against government corruption. And what am I doing? The same thing a minimum of Dan Bongino could have done, 30 seconds to a minute. Just say, listen, there's this guy, David Baumblatt. Here's his information. Go check him out. If he's real or not, this and that, I'll get him on the show. Of course, Dan could have done more because he has a staff that could have done due diligence on me. So what I'm going to do is let me just share my screen really quick with you and basically lead by example. And here we go. So hopefully, let me see. Let me put it here this way. This is better. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see this. This is the recommendation. So, man, I'm forgetting though. I'm on emails with this person now. This is all brand new. It's sort of a group. I don't know much about them, but you give them the benefit of the doubt. This is on Rumble. This is the page. It's called Veterans Against Treason. I'm forgetting the name. Edge, you introduced me to him. I got to look at my emails again. This is his Rumble page. Let's go to About, which I'm sure when I press the About, I'm going to remember the name. Sorry, been hitting the head too much by boxing. Clicking on here. And where's the name? Okay, Thomas Walter Trex. So this is, I assume, Thomas, this is your page and you're doing it. You could read about them. 100% disabled military veterans. And you know me, I used to be so much into helping other military veterans. Now I don't know. Of course, I give much more leniency to enlisted military veterans. I think the officer corps sucks, to include West Point. But before, I would immediately help out military veterans. But we're going to assume these are the good guys, military veterans, because I think a lot of military veterans are shitbags. But let's go down to his bio. Again, just like Dan Bongino, is this person true or false? I don't know, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's a military veteran. He asked for help. I'm showing his page here. He sounds like we're aligned. He's a military veteran. Maybe go and support him and follow and do this. So we're going down. I might be going down a little too quickly, but I think you got the main thing is the page. It's on Rumble. I doubt he's on any other social media just like me. He's censored, but it's called Veterans Against Treason. Hell, he's got more followers than me. He's got 8,000. So congratulations. Perhaps go and either maybe not support him immediately, like Dan Bongino should have done. Maybe first look at the page, see if he's legit, see if you like him, and if not, go and support him. But this would be the minimum of what Dan Bongino could have done. But he could have done more because, again, he's got a staff, due diligence, they could have talked with me. But this is the shitbag of Dan Bongino we're going to get into. So we're going to end it here. But again, Edge, who's a follower on there, you brought me to it. If there's something else that I could do, again, I have a small channel that I could bring attention to Veterans Against Treason, let me know. But to the viewers, you found them on Rumble, Veterans Against Treason, go for it and see if you can watch and give support. Okay, so let me just go, before we dive further, I think there were some questions from Giafanti. So Giafanti, you said, my question was, how long ago did this live stream begin? Seems like it's self-explanatory now, very close to the start, guessing it was a top. Giafanti, this literally just started right now. These are questions. But again, so everyone knows I was doing live streams. I'm not doing them now. Now I'm back on there. But again, there's basically 3 live stream platforms that I'm doing. I have YouTube. Again, I was censored on my original YouTube channel. I wasn't even allowed to do live streams on them. I have a new YouTube channel. There's only 2 subscribers. And I'm on X, which is my 4th account. So I'm streaming on X, I'm streaming on YouTube, and I'm streaming on Rumble, which is it's very worrisome. I was about to tell you that Rumble has been great to me. I don't believe I've ever been censored. And all of a sudden, there's another person you could say in one of these people I follow. He's a bit of a far right. He just told me that he's now been censored on Rumble and he's been deplatforming on Rumble. And he says Rumble is a fake, conservative, right wing, you could say, political mess. It's the same thing. So that's worrying. So who knows? Maybe Rumble's the same, but I believe I've never been censored on Rumble. So I was about to say Rumble's great. It's on there, but literally just yesterday, there's another, you could say, right wing. He's a right wing podcaster that I follow, also a military veteran, and he's being deplatformed on Rumble. That's kind of worrying because before we go further, I want to reemphasize this. This is why I don't have much respect for at least active duty military anymore. I don't know what you're fighting against. I'm not saying, again, we're probably going to go into war in Venezuela. Trust me, we're going to get to Dan Bongino, but I need to go back to this. China, Russia, there is a complete war on the First Amendment, a complete war. And if you specifically speak topics about politics, where if you're going to talk leadership, you're going to have to talk politics. Leadership and politics go hand in hand, especially if you go far right. We're not talking like Fox News politics, right? We're talking far right. We're talking nationalism. There is so much censorship. It's unbelievable that I've experienced. And to see these active duty military veterans like, yeah, we have to destroy China. We have to destroy Russia. We have to destroy that. They're taking away our freedoms. I don't think China, Russia, and Venezuela have the direct attack on our First Amendment. I would probably say who's attacking our First Amendment? Well, the globalist American government, the globalist corporations, the globalist interest groups that are American. I would say that, but I want to emphasize that if you are a military veteran and you want to have support or thanks from American citizens, probably defend their First Amendment. That's a great way that I think American veteran or American citizens would appreciate your service. Going and killing people in Venezuela and Iraq, Afghanistan, not really helping me that much, not in the big picture. Defending my First Amendment right for freedom of speech, I could say thank you for that service. So that's kind of a joke. Okay, Giafanti, hopefully that answered it. So let me go and just answer a couple more things. So first, there was another posting here about a video. It's called Chud the Builder. It's about a video. So this is also a subscriber asked me to do a video on this. I'm going to do a video tomorrow. It's about a YouTube version, a person who used the N-word. You know what the N-word is? That's the word called nigger. No, I don't think it's very polite to say the word nigger, but free speech, if you want to use the word nigger, it is what it is. But it is an impolite word, and I don't think you should use it. But that's sort of what the video is about. It's about an American citizen who said the word nigger, and now he's done. But we'll do that video tomorrow because, again, it's not really emphasizing that word. It emphasizes the bigger picture of the attack on freedom of speech. So I forgot the person who sent me the video. I'll do it tomorrow, and it's about that. So let's go about Dan Bongino. Let's just open this up first on just a general video on Dan Bongino, at least in the FBI. But like I said, my first impression of Dan Bongino is, what did I say before about the military? Stick within your lane. My lane is he knows who I am. Again, besides the evidence of blocking me and unblocking me on Twitter or X, I wrote him so many times. He knows who I am. And what should he have done? Just like what I showed you, Veterans Against Treason. He has a staff. He could have done a due diligence. A staff person could have called me and said, hey, we need to verify you. Or he could have just done what I've done. But he peddles patriotism and all this other bullshit. He's a grifter. And I'm going to explain why more. But let's just do a general video on this guy in terms of his FBI issues here. 1 second. Let me pull this up.
Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is preparing to leave his position after an 8-month tenure that was anything but quiet, marked by internal clashes, public scrutiny, and efforts to distance himself from conspiracy theories he once promoted. President Donald Trump confirmed Bongino's departure to reporters on Wednesday. Shortly after Trump's remarks, Bongino himself confirmed the timeline, posting on X that he would leave in January.
Oh, Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show.
And we're going to comment. And I want to be sure, again, my videos, if this are going to age like fine wine. I've said many times, I still believe Donald Trump is the best president in my life. But I've also said, 1, he ain't going to solve the problem. And 2, the best is yet to come. It will be at a state level politician, meaning a governor. He's not going to solve it. But I still am not going to, what are you going to go, Gavin Newsom, what, Marco Rubio? Ain't happening. So like him or not, I still cannot believe or think of a better presidential candidate per se, at least in the lineup that we've had.
Bongino wrote, I will be leaving my position with the FBI in January. I want to thank President Trump, AG Bondi, and Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve you. God bless America and all those who defend her. Before Trump's comments earlier that day, Bongino was spotted participating in a gingerbread house decorating contest at FBI headquarters, an appearance that gave no outward indication that an announcement about his departure was imminent. Inside both the White House and the FBI, Bongino's exit had long been expected. Officials familiar with internal planning believed he would leave after roughly a year in the role. In recent days, that expectation appeared to solidify as Andrew Bailey, the co-deputy director, began taking over meetings that Bongino was originally slated to lead. Behind the scenes, Bongino had grown increasingly frustrated with the position. He complained publicly and privately about the tedious nature of the job and the toll it was taking on his personal life, according to officials familiar with his thinking. Some FBI officials believe Bongino.
All right, I think that's enough. We're gonna do another video where he complains about his job or stuff like that. Now, I want to compare a little bit of a similarity, a little bit, to these FBI whistleblowers. And again, I only know 4 of them. The other ones I don't know. And again, it's like the same thing I said about Dan Bongino when I called him a piece of shit. Not everything. Maybe there'll be other stories if he's done good stuff. And oh no, Dan, help me here. I get it. I get it. But from my lens, oh, he's a piece of shit. Same thing with these FBI whistleblowers. They're fucking grifters. So you have to ask yourself, why didn't the FBI whistleblowers quit the FBI? They didn't quit. They were fired because they didn't want to quit. But then Dan Bongino quit. And again, we're going to compare. Because people could say, but David, you quit the FBI too. We're going to answer this. Let's go step by step. The FBI whistleblowers in general are grifters. I'm not saying 100%. I'm sure if you look at them, but generally they're grifters because they, generally speaking, let's use common sense. They went to the American public. They said, hi, I'm a patriot. I want to serve the government. I didn't quit the FBI. I want to stay in. I'm just here to report government corruption, wrongdoing. I need help. And I was like, and they helped them. And I said, hey, me too. I have government corruption too. I'm a patriot. Can you help me? And they said, fuck you. They're grifters. They didn't quit the FBI like I did because unlike them, who should have never been accepted in the FBI resumes are going down. Sort of, I should say, about Dan Bongino with the Secret Service. 99% of Secret Service agents all have something in common. A rejection letter from the FBI. Even when I was in the FBI, my classmates, former Secret Service. So not very impressed with Secret Service anyway. But again, back to the FBI whistleblowers, they shouldn't have been accepted in the FBI. I mean, the FBI standards going down. It was the best job they could ever get. So they didn't want to quit. So I want to emphasize one word. It's called money. And I get it. I'll do other videos. I understand money is a strong factor. And I don't want to jump around too much. I need to say this, but like in the military, there's a difference between an enlisted person and an officer in many ways. But I get it. You look at, we say in the Army, Joe shit the ragman, the 18 or the 11 Bravo infantry guy. And you're like, hey, why did you join the Army? And he's like, sir, because I was tired of pumping gas and working at McDonald's and I needed money for college. I get it. I get it. But you don't want that from the high leadership. You don't want FBI agents, CIA agents, West Point grads, foreign service officers like that top leadership to say, well, I did this job because it was the best money for me. That's not good because these people have a lot of these people in high positions. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of knowledge. There comes with that oath of leadership, of loyalty, of duty on our country. You don't want people saying, yeah, I figured I'd be a military officer because had the most benefits and money for me. That's not good. But I get it. If you're a cook in the military, you could say, hey, man, I was cooking at McDonald's and it sucked. I figured I'd join the military, get more benefits. We get it. So again, back to the money thing, I get it, but not at this level. So you had the FBI whistleblowers who were fired. I quit. You still could be I wrote my letter to Senator Chuck Grassley, and I can explain more when I quit the FBI, why I did certain things because it was advice, but you could still be a whistleblower and quit. You don't have to be. So why did they quit the FBI like I did? Because again, I said I wasn't going to leech off the American people. It was dysfunctional. For them, it was the best job for their low resumes, not for me. But then again, so the FBI whistleblowers didn't quit for money, but why did Dan Bongino quit? Also for money. It all comes back to money. Because you got to remember, Dan Bongino was the deputy director. That's a whole different salary, a whole different power. That's like being in the military. That's like being a 3-star general. The military in general is a rough life, not when you make general though. If you're a 1, 2, 3, 4-star general, the military quite possibly could be the best job in your life. You're a king. I mean, if there was ever a job where you're sort of an emperor, it's in the military and it's a general. So Dan Bongino as a deputy director in the FBI, it's sort of like being in the military as a 3-star general. It's a nice gig. But when you're this, popular podcaster, how much money is Dan Bongino making? I don't know. I haven't researched it, but it sounds like he's a millionaire. I mean, I don't know, maybe $1 million per year or more. Roughly say he's making a shitload of money in there. What would be the deputy director of the FBI making? He's going to be making, it's hard to say. I got to look at the bet, maybe $250,000, which is a lot of money for the United States government. There's no doubt. But $250,000 compared to how much he's making as a podcast, I don't know. I mean, with sponsorships and whatnot. So I say again, let me look back. I'm gonna sometimes look back to the comments. I see 3 comments. I'll get to the comments 1 second. So I say again, because our men in America have turned into very weak men. And I keep saying this, America's going to fall for weak men. And remember, we're talking about FBI here. The FBI, if there was ever an example of extraordinary examples of American men, probably FBI, same thing like West Point. These are, so we're talking FBI, let alone the FBI deputy director, but even an FBI special agent. You could almost say that's America's one example of America's creme de la creme. So you have FBI grifter whistleblowers who didn't quit the FBI and were fired because they weren't going to quit. Money, best job they could ever get. And so it was all about money. Then you got Dan Bongino, and he did quit. Of course, he didn't get fired. He quit because he thought, I'm losing out on a ton of money. I'm making millions of dollars doing podcasts. Why the hell am I working for the government? So now I'm gonna read the comments, and I'm gonna show you the difference between me quitting the FBI and Dan. It's apples and oranges. Let me just Dan isn't it? So I'm reading some of the comments here. Let me, in fact, I think I could just put them on the screen here. Yeah, so that way I think everyone could see them. So that way everyone could see it. So the war is right here, not to say. So I'm looking at Dan Bongino is in a year or 2 from his federal package, from excellent training. Yeah, so I'm just reading here. Yeah, so here's the difference between Dan and me quitting the FBI. And it is anyone with common sense out. When I went into the FBI in 2004, I really thought I was going into an FBI like the United States, even though I was already getting disillusioned by the military, because then there was the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan. At that time, I wrote my congressman who gave me my nomination to West Point. This is during the Iraq War, and I was writing them, but this is about weapons of mass destruction. I said, hey, sir, this was Congressman Sherwood Bullard. I think he's dead now. He was my congressman who gave me my nomination to West Point. And I was writing him in letters. He never responded to me about the war in Iraq. So I was getting disillusioned with the United States military with the war, but I was still young. I was still naive. And I thought, okay, I'll go into the FBI. So I went into the FBI as a believer that this system was good. Dan Bongino went into the FBI where he admitted the FBI is dysfunctional, which I agree. I found out. That's why I quit. And he said it's dysfunctional and I'm going to fix it. So first, when we went in for totally different reasons. I went in there still thinking, because if I knew the FBI was dysfunctional, I probably wouldn't have joined. In fact, that's why I quit. It's dysfunctional. It's incompetent and immoral. So I went into the FBI as a believer, like, wow, this is a great agency. It's doing good work. So I'm gonna be a good soldier. He went in there telling people, which again, by the time he went in, it was like, I don't know, 20 years later. Again, I went into the FBI in 2004. He went in there telling the American people, when he peddles his bullshit podcast, the FBI is corrupt, the FBI is dysfunctional. So he went in there knowing it's dysfunctional. That's the one difference. The second difference, I went in there as a field agent, meaning the lowest level agent. There's not that much power I had compared when you're the deputy director. So the point being is, Dan went in there saying it's dysfunctional and I'm going to fix it. I went in there, I never said it was dysfunctional, because meaning I said it was dysfunctional when I left. I never said it was dysfunctional when I went in. Otherwise, why would I join? And trust me, I wasn't going to fix it. I asked senior agents, I said, nothing's going to change in the FBI. They're not going to listen to me. What should I do? You know what advice I got? It was the best it was. They said, write Senator Chuck Grassley. At that time, I never even heard of Senator Chuck Grassley. I'm from New York. Senator Chuck Grassley is, I think, from Iowa. But Senator Chuck Grassley has a lot of pull over FBI oversight. So they told me, write Senator Chuck Grassley. He's got it. I mean, that's all I could do. But if I was a deputy director in the FBI, there's a lot more things I could do to change it. So in terms of power, me and Dan Bongino are apples and oranges to power. 2, intent. I joined the FBI thinking it was a great agency. I found out it was dysfunctional and I quit. Dan joined because he told everyone, which is the truth, it's dysfunctional. And then he lied saying he's going to fix it. He didn't fix it. That's why I said he quit as a fucking loser. He's a loser. I kick his fucking ass in about less than a minute. Dan, if you're watching, I beat your fucking ass and I beat the ass of your fucking low DNA kids because Dan's a traitor. I'm telling you, sooner or later, the American people are going to realize that the biggest danger, this is FBI 101, people. This is why the FBI is the most powerful and elite agency in America. It's overrated. It's the insider threat. You keep looking overseas as China, overseas as Russia. It's the same thing in your personal life. What would make you in your life the most vulnerable? Think about, God forbid, your own wife who turns on you. God forbid, your own children or your neighbor. It's the insider threat that is the most dangerous in a country, in a society, in an organization, or even a family. It's not the stranger. It's not the person across the street. It's not the person you don't know. It's the person already in your inner circle that if they change, if they turn on you, if they become a traitor, hence my book, Patriots Betrayed, that is the number one threat. I've always said, I've never have said China is our friend or our ally or Russia. It's the insider threat. And what's going to happen? I believe MAGA is going to split. We could talk about the far left. I've said many times, I don't really think the far left is our enemy in the short run. In the long run, we're not the same. And I've said that many times. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of people. Same thing when we talk about the insider threat. Now people are talking more about Israel, talking about the Jews. What do I think about that? Free speech. Free speech. Let it out. Let it out. I'll do comments on it. It's the insider threat, people. And I'm telling you, Dan Bongino, again, I don't know everything about him. I'm sure people can give great examples of how Dan Bongino is a patriot. But what in my leadership assessment, I'm going to look at the comments really quick here. Give me 1 second. But when I really think about in terms of who is a really threat to America, I really think who is in power right now, and it is sort of, you could say, Donald Trump and the MAGA, and I don't believe that MAGA realizes that it is not one party and it's eventually going to split. And we're going to look at this other person who talks about it. This is another great example. I'm already going to let the person's name, Megan, I think her name's Megan Kelly. Megan Kelly, she sucks. She's a whore. But I'm just saying, a lot of what these MAGA people have looked upon as their leaders, I'm telling you, they're not. They are not. And I said again, I'm sure Dan Bongino has done great things and patriotic. He is not a fucking patriot. And why is that? Number one, when an American, oh, by the way, Dan never served in the military too. He's such a patriot. You ever get this stuff? All these MAGA people too. Everyone is about supporting military veterans, but we know military veterans are shit on in America. But they're all support. They always like to say, I support military. I don't believe it. I think military veterans are absolutely shit on America. There's no fucking respect for ourselves. And if you're a military veteran, though, you also have to admit that we serve the corporations. We didn't serve the people. Just admit it. Just get it out. I'm not saying 100%. I'm sure there were some military missions where we could articulate for the American people. But generally speaking, we serve the military industrial complex. Just admit it. Get it off your chest. And that way it gives the American people. But generally speaking, military veterans are not supported by our government, by our corporation, and also by the American people, to include a piece of shit like Dan Bongino, who never served in the military. When a military veteran says, I am on the FBI terrorist watch list and I am not welcome back in America, I've never asked for money. Go back in all my videos and you go back and ask yourself, how many times have I said, buy my piece of shit book? Never said that. I could care less. You want to buy my book? Buy my book. You want to fucking burn my book? I could care less. How many times have I peddled buy my services? Literally, go back in my videos. How many times have I ever talked about money? It's got to be 1%. It's literally got to be 1% of my videos I've ever talked about money. But what have I said that you could do for free, which your corrupt politicians, if they did their job, I wouldn't be here. I've written every single one of these piece of shit politicians, to include a lot of these military veteran politicians, to include these Navy SEALs who are little dick faggots. I could talk about the Navy SEALs. Punched the shit out of these fuckers when I was on military deployment. Beat the shit out of these faggots. Not impressed with Navy SEALs at all. But because they've ignored me, I went to you, and what have I said? One thing. Just press repost. Get it? Why? Because when there's government corruption, it helps everyone. It helps everyone. Dan Bongino went from two phases. He went from a private citizen, though he peddled his life as a patriot, he should have supported me. So phase one is he's a private citizen, but he peddles his bullshit patriotism that I support military veterans. I'm against government corruption. Oh man, I'm federal law enforcement. Oh, FBI like that. And he fucking shit on me. And I beat the shit out of his little dick any fucking day of the week. But then he changed. He transitioned voluntarily from a civilian. Now he's in the FBI. Now his paycheck comes from the American taxpayer. Now he changed from not being a civilian where he can support me or he can't. I mean, it is freedom. He should, because that's what his patriot, his principles, he peddled this. He should have supported me, but he chose not to. Whatever, he's a piece of shit. Now it's not though. Now he's the deputy director of the FBI, and he promised, doesn't matter, that's his duty now. Now he's taking a paycheck from the American people. His job is to fight government corruption. It's part of the FBI mandate. It's called public corruption. Everything. Now he knows about me. So now by him going from a civilian into the number two in the FBI, I mean, you can't get much higher than that. Now, again, I'm not saying him being a deputy director, he needs to contact me. I get it. He's like, David, I'm a deputy director. I'm Dan Bongino. I'm too important for you. I'm too busy for you. I don't have time for your bullshit, David. I could buy that. But, David, I'm going to assign an FBI agent to you at the bare minimum. And so an FBI agent on the order of either Kash Patel, who's another fucking sand nigger from India, act like a sand nigger, treat you like a sand nigger, send that motherfucker back to India. You're going to see MAGA's going to split. Give it time. Dan Bongino, at the very least, should have ordered an FBI agent in their squads, in their teams of public corruption, and they should say, listen, everyone, think about it. If the FBI doesn't know about me, they do, then it doesn't show that they're a very elite agency. They know about me. It's a joke. They know about me. You should assign an agent. Agent should say, all right, David, let's talk. And then he could say, listen, we've had a talk with David. It's possible. And Dan Bongino could say, I think his entire story is bullshit. That at least helps Dan Bongino. Of course, it would be wrong, but it would at least say, it's like a woman, I said this, she claims rape. Maybe she's bullshitting, but at the very least, you have a police detective assigned to her. He interviews her, and it's possible the detective says, I interviewed this woman. She claims she had rape. I think it's bullshit. And then he puts his name down on a piece of paper. They don't want to talk with me. I told you twice. I went to the U.S. Embassy in Beijing and U.S. Embassy or U.S. Consulate in Hong Kong. They don't want to talk to me. Why? They don't want to incriminate themselves. That's wrong. Every American knows that Dan Bongino, you are now the deputy director of the FBI. You have a duty now. You're not a civilian. You have a duty. There's a former FBI military veteran who's saying FBI corruption. Everyone knows that one thing you don't do is just totally ignore them, like hide like cowards. You, at the very least, assign an agent. Say, all right, they don't want to do it. Talk to this guy, David. Why wouldn't he want to do it? I don't know. Maybe why doesn't he want to divulge about the Epstein files? You don't think, and again, I say this again, you see, if my channel ever goes higher, there's some people on YouTube that are former CIA, former FBI, some of them, not all, some of them are actually good. I'll recommend them, that are peddling some bullshit to the American people. I'm going to give you one line of bullshit, and it relates to my story too. Have you ever heard of former intelligence officers who are defending the American intelligence community, and they say, well, you have to understand, only our failures are made public, but all of our successful operations, because they're classified, they have to remain in secret. So you, American public, don't know all the good things we're doing. So shut your mouth and keep giving us all this taxpayer money so we can fund our black budgets. Yeah, okay. Now, partially that's true. Many successful operations have to remain classified. I think we would agree it's the nature of the beast. But what about the unsuccessful? Whether it's through incompetency or immorality, corruption. What if they go wrong? You think the agencies are going to let the people know? So sure, successful operations remain hidden, and so do corrupt ones. It's the same thing what they're doing. I mean, we know this. So when these operations, and so why is the FBI why does the FBI not want to touch my case with a 10-foot pole? Because they don't want to expose their corruption. Would the FBI do that? I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Epstein files? Anyone with common sense knows something's going really wrong with that. I don't know if Trump is directly implicated, indirectly, Israel, certain interest groups, certain people. Something is royally fucked up with those Epstein files. When I say that, what do I mean? I mean that the Trump administration, under little Cash Patel and dickhead Danny Boy Bongino, they are hiding it. Anyone knows that. Let it out. And when Donald Trump, and I like Donald Trump's leadership in general, other part, he's just being an awful salesman where his corruption's hiding. What do I mean by that? Are we still talking about the Epstein files? Who's that? These guys, what are you, a fucking moron, Trump? What are you, a dumb fuck? Yeah, we're talking about the Epstein files because this is more, I get it, pedophilia. And I should do a topic on pedophilia in another way from a leadership standpoint. I'm sure a lot of these girls, though, were probably fucking whores. Some of them, though, were underage girls who were truly raped. But what I'm saying is the Epstein files, it has to do more than pedophilia. It has to do with an undue influence on the intricacies of our United States government, whether from a foreign entity, a foreign country, a foreign intelligence, or internal. So this is past a criminal. Think about this. This is the difference in the FBI. I worked in the national security branch, and then we have the criminal branch. I believe the Epstein files contain both the criminal nature of pedophilia, but there's a national security. And that is what I think is what the American people are really worried about. There is a national security link, nexus to this Epstein file that as a national threatens all Americans. So I know I'm divulging, but again, back to Donald Trump. What are we still talking about these Epstein files? Yeah, asshole, we're talking about them. Fucking put them out there. And if you're in the files, it is. But again, it goes back to my story. Would the FBI purposely try to cover up the corruption that David Baumblatt's supporting? No, that would never happen. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Epstein files? But this is why Dan Bongino's a piece of shit. He went from being a civilian, and I get it. When you're a civilian, you don't have a duty to help me out, even though you peddle this bullshit of patriotism. My name's Dan Bongino, and I support military veterans. Hell yeah, man. If you got government corruption, I'll help you. Okay, Dan, that's me. That's exactly what you're talking about, Dan. Me, block this motherfucker. Blocks me. Something's wrong with that. But then he voluntarily leaves the civilian world, and now he's the deputy director of the FBI. Now it's no longer optional. You have a duty now, you piece of shit. You have a duty. There's a former FBI agent who's saying there's FBI corruption. You assign an agent. Anyone who's been in there. I'm telling you 100%. Does anyone not think the FBI is dysfunctional now? We've had Director Ray, who's a traitor. He's been shit canned. We've had Comey shit canned. We have McCabe shit canned. I'm not that impressed with Cash Patel. You really think Director Hoover would look and say, well, this FBI, great. Think about the military too. Everything relates. You think General Patton would come back and think, man, these military generals, really good. Our country's fallen. And it is going to get worse and worse and worse. So I say again, Dan Bongino is a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned, but you probably may have stories of particularities where he's done good stuff. I get it. Nobody's 100% bad, 100% good, but there's also laws of leadership. And I go back again. He went being from a civilian. He's now a deputy director. He has an oath. He has a duty. You don't ignore me. And again, why did he quit the FBI? It's for fucking money. Why didn't the FBI whistleblowers quit the FBI? Because they're fucking grifters and their resumes suck, and they know it, that the FBI salary and pensions are the best thing going for them, and they didn't want to quit. Let me go to some questions here, and then we'll do some final videos. I'm not even keeping track of time here. Let me, Dan Bongino, let me see, has the president's profile, the job may be, Todd Blanche is the problem, Democrat operative, John Mitch. Yeah, again, when I see something, listen, guys, I left America in 2010, and we'll talk about it because this ship is sinking. So I really didn't pay attention to a lot of this stuff until I got back on social media about 2 years ago. So if you're giving names like Todd Blanche, if you want me to do a video on it, just send it in the comment section, not the chat, because the chat disappeared. And just say, hey, David, there's this guy, Todd Blanche. I don't know, here's a YouTube video on what do you think? And I can look him up. Because part of the reason I left, gentlemen, is we're going to go back to videos again where we're going to do about collapse, revolution, civil war. There's not many options, people. One of the options is you just fucking leave. But I'm telling you, the more data points that you're seeing here all point to the same direction. It's not that the FBI is dysfunctional. Our country, it's becoming dysfunctional, and people are losing more and more trust. So it's kind of like, well, David, can you look at this person? Can you look at that? This whole fucking ship is coming down. Let's look at the big picture. This system is going to collapse. It's going to revolution. It's going to civil war. Let's look at the big picture. What do you have to do? You're not going to leave America? Okay, then we need to figure out what are you going to do in America. But Dan Bongino, that's what I'm saying, loser. Donald Trump has already been the president once. Didn't fix it, right? We would all agree. He didn't fix it during his first term. You think he's going to fix it now? Won't do it. Won't do it. Now, Dan Bongino. Let's slice it down. This is where leadership. Let's look at the microcosm. Dan Bongino has been the deputy director of the FBI. That's the number 2 in the FBI. Pretty powerful position. And unlike me, he goes, the FBI is dysfunctional. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fix it. I mean, that's what he said. Did he fix it? I doubt it. I'm saying there's a 99% chance. He totally ignored me. That's for sure. It's not going to happen. Nothing. You've got to ask yourself, the American people, how is this system going to be fixed? What does it mean to fix this system? What's the end goal? I don't think people know. I really think it's going to be sort of like a corporation, and it has to do with money, that you're going to see it's going to become more dysfunctional, and then like the corporation going bankrupt. Notice the whole thing about gold, crypto, the US dollar. I should do more. I really think that's going to be the main mechanism for the collapse and into violence. But it's really not working either way. Let me go. Yeah, I mean, I think I go back to J. Mitch. I'm thinking about it. I think Dan Bongino, that's why I'm saying he's a shitbag. I think if he wasn't a multi-millionaire podcaster like the shitbag FBI grifters, meaning he didn't have a multi-million-dollar job to go to, I think he would have stayed at the job as deputy director of the FBI. I mean, let's face it. If you're an average American man to be the deputy director of the FBI, I mean, it's sort of like hitting the lotto. To even include money, I mean, $250,000 is a lot of money. But, benefits and power. To the average American man, I think most would agree, to be the deputy director of the FBI it's amazing. But if you're a multi-millionaire podcaster, notice I didn't say patriot, because if you're a patriot, maybe you should go in there. You said the FBI is dysfunctional. You said you're going to fix it. I never said. I joined the FBI. I never thought it was dysfunctional. And then when it was, I said, I'm not going to fucking take a paycheck, and I reported to Senator Chuck Grassley. If I was the deputy director of the FBI, I might have done different, because I said, I have power now. That deputy director is pretty powerful. I'm going to fix it. So he went in there saying he's going to fix it. He's been in there a year, maybe less than a year. Now he's quitting. Did he accomplish his mission? Now he's going to do on his bullshit podcast, he's probably going to say, I was in there for a year and I did this. I did exactly what I was going to say. I fixed this. I got the pipe bomb or whatever, and I left. And you're as a viewer, like a slick talking politician, are going to be like, I guess so. I guess you accomplished your mission, but I thought, though, you said the FBI is dysfunctional, and I thought you were going to change it. Nothing's fucking changing, people. You think Cash Patel? Nothing. This is a globalist corporation. It's going to keep doing what it's going to do unless and until, and I believe so, the money gravy train stops. We're talking the US dollar. We're talking economic collapse. Until then, they're going to keep moving. We're going to show another video. Let me just see the comments. Dan Bongino thinks he's going to face his fans. I don't know. Like I said, when I got back on social media, or not got back, when I started on social media for the first time 2 years ago, I don't think I ever heard about Dan Bongino. But I do want to say this right now, and I've said this before. We are not learning leadership anymore. I was ranked as the number 2 leadership at West Point. I won the leadership award at Harvard. I know leadership. Now let's use common sense. If we are doing leadership in America and all these leadership gurus are doing, then why is America collapsing? This is what I think. And this is also why Don Bongino, I never knew about him. He's on Fox News. I really, truly believe that if you're in America and you are a political, which is part of leadership, a political influencer, unless you're not approved, and this also goes by the left too, the right and the left, they have their approval gates. You're not going higher. I mean, I think truly from a leadership, it's going to be very difficult if you are not approved. And so something happened with Dan Bongino where he got on Fox News and they allowed him, and it is what it is. But I don't believe these political influencers on the left or right, because most of it's bullshit. We know that. Meaning I would get along probably better with a far left person than the typical rhino Republican or the typical left. It's the same thing. I don't want to change the stuff. I would probably get along fucking better with a devout Muslim or a devout Buddhist than the typical fucking American who all wants to do is make money and spend on garbage, right? The typical American's like, man, I love eating pizza and I love football, man. I love watching football. I mean, these fucking mindless Americans who all they're about is consumerism. Just buy more worthless shit for the corporation. I probably hang out with a devout Muslim. Not saying that the West belongs to Islam. The West is Christian, but at least maybe someone who has value, something more than money. Something. Just give me something more than money. And that's why I go back to these grifters, these FBI whistleblower fucking grifters, and Dan Bongino, deputy director. And what do they both have in common? Money. Like I said, I think if the FBI whistleblowers, if their resume was better like mine, they would have quit. And if Dan Bongino did not have a multi-million-dollar podcast, which again, to most American men, the deputy director of the FBI, to include money, it's awesome. I don't think he would have quit. So I say again, if Dan didn't have a lot of money in this multi-million-dollar podcast, I don't think he would have quit the FBI. And if these grifting FBI whistleblowers, if they had a better resume, they would have quit like me. Because you could still be a whistleblower. You could still report it to your congressmen and senators like I did. And so what does it mean? And where did we learn this from? Did we learn this from China? Did we learn this from Russia? Did we learn this from the Taliban? No, we learned this from the globalist corporations. That's what they teach us. We are children, and our masters in America are these globalist corporations, these globalist banks, these globalist entities. We know this, these elites, and they teach us. And what's one of the things they teach us? I remember saying this to my West Point friend when I left America, right before I was in New York City having lunch to him. And I said, I don't know what American culture is anymore. What is it? And I said, the only thing that I can explain American culture is this, 2 things. Make money and have fun. Like have fun. Spend it on bullshit. Go and watch, like you'll see these dumb fuck Americans when the next Super Bowl comes. Hey man, I don't even know who's in this. So I haven't watched the Super Bowl or NFL football in probably over 15 years. Don't give a shit. I really could care less if the New York Giants win or the Buffalo faggot Bills or the Kansas City cunt Chiefs win. Don't give a shit. But the typical American citizen, it's all about just make money, fuck your neighbor over, step on everyone, just make money, money, money. And then when you have this money, what do? I don't know, just spend it on bullshit, buy cars, buy watches, watch a dumb fucking football game so my white girlfriend could wear the jersey of the nigger playing on the field. That's impolite. I shouldn't say nigger, but it just sounded kind of funny when I said it. But to play, wear the t-shirt of the nigger on the field and say, that's my girlfriend. She wants to fuck the nigger on the field. And I'm an American. This is awesome. Where did we learn that from? We didn't learn it from China, people. We learned it from Russia. I'm not saying China and Russia are a good model. But we need to ask ourselves, where are we learning American culture from? We have deviated from our founding fathers. And I'm telling you, the biggest entity, where is the power? Follow the money. And it goes right back, if you're looking at it, whether the FBI whistleblowers too faggoty to quit the FBI because of money. Why did Dan Bongino quit the FBI? Because he wants to go back to podcasting. He wants to be another putz like me. I feel like an absolute fucking putz doing these podcasts. This wasn't my dream. I've said this joke before. This is how pathetic the military's become too. I told you before, it's like, sir, I want to go to an army recruiter says, sir, I want to join Delta Force because I heard it's the most elite agency or the military special in the world. I want to be Delta Force. And I was like, well, you can try it. It's going to take tough. You go in the Rangers, you do it. And then he finally says, why do you want to be Delta Force? Because I want to do some cool things. And then I want to leave the military and I want to become a podcast host where I can make millions of dollars. It's like everybody wants to be fucking famous now and be a shithead fucking podcaster now. No one really gives a shit about other people. And I'm telling you, this is where our country's going down. And this is also, I know I'm doing a tangent, but this is where I'm different than a lot of people. And I've said this before. I actually don't put all the blame on these evil globalist entities. They are. But it's sort of like garbage in, garbage out. I don't have a high regard on the typical American citizen. I think most American citizens are shit bags. They care about money and they don't fucking give a shit about other people. Same thing I think about the Chinese people. I've always said that. People like to say the Chinese government is evil, but the Chinese people are good. No, I'm not buying that. I've said, I'm not saying evil, but I'm not saying good or bad, but I'm just saying the Chinese people and the Chinese government, about 80 to 90% the same, nothing different. That's not a compliment. That's not a belligerent remark. It just is what it is. I don't think they're that much different. Back to America. I don't think that America is filled with these evil people at the top, but all the American people are good. The same thing I said about the FBI. You'll find a lot of FBI agents who are good people, but they're weak. And to save their job and their pension, they will fucking put you away for life and they don't give a shit. And that's why I look at Americans. Most of them are just dumb, fat, stupid fucking people. And their biggest priority is eating another slice of pizza to be a fat fuck, to watch the football game like I give a shit, and let's buy some more bullshit. And then the white guy is getting yelled at by his girlfriend because he's an incel, and he's like, yes, ma'am. The point at the end of the day, I go back to leadership. You cannot have a strong country when you have weak men. And going back to Dan Bongino, he's a piece of shit. Is what it is. And so we're going to do one more thing about Megyn Kelly here. It's a short clip, and then we'll see. When we do it, I'll look at the comments. I'll try to do some more questions in here. Let's do one thing about Megyn Kelly. Not like I'm a fan of hers. I said one of the deals is very simple. We're doing a tangent. Women should have never got the right to vote in America. Never. It was not a good thing for us.
Get news that Dan Bongino's stepping down. He sent out a tweet yesterday. I think he said effective early January. So he did not make it a year. And now he's already getting some blowback. This is what the left is saying. But this is the reason I'm playing this is you're also hearing this online from some on the right, which is kind of telling because I love Bongino and I've been kind of.
I love Bongino. And again, I'm embarrassed that why I'm even showing Megyn Kelly's clips. I shouldn't in the future. Again, if you're a man and you're listening to a woman for leadership advice, bad problem. So you might say, well, David, why are we listening to Megyn Kelly? Good point. Part of leadership is admitting when you're wrong, you're wrong. I get it. But she's a piece of shit. She should be in the kitchen. She has children, doesn't she? Who's taking care of your children, Megyn? Who? A nanny? Wrong answer. Get your ass in the home and take care of your kids. I don't need to be lectured to you by fucking leadership.
Taken aback at like the shift in opinion by some, even on the right. But here's Nicole Wallace with her 2-cent take.
This guy is a freaking joke. He wears T-shirts that are obviously too.
Let me go because I think there's 2 clips here. We're going to go to this clip right here. It's the last clip we're going to show because it is pretty interesting. So this is the last clip. 1 second. Let me make sure we're aligned here. Right there. Okay. And the reason, let me put this higher. The reason we're looking at this clip is Dan, like what a little faggot. Remember, Dan never served in the military. He's sort of complaining on how tough his job is in the FBI. He's a deputy director. I mean, that's like being in the military, a 3-star general. And I get it, you're busy. But once you're a 3-star general, you actually, anyone knows in the military, once you make a 1-star hire, you start living a bit of a VIP lifestyle. Cooks, drivers. He's the deputy director. And he's making a shitload of money compared to the average American man. I think he's just complaining because he's like, do you know how much money I was making as a podcaster? And you know how much fun I was having? And now I got to do this shit job as deputy director. I think that, but look how he's talking. I was an agent. I was an FBI agent. I made shit money in the fucking FBI, like compared to this piece of shit. I did my job. I didn't want to quit. I wanted to do a good deal, but these fucking people are so corrupt that I said I'm not going to leech off. But listen to this little faggot complain.
I don't know what people think me and Cash are doing all day. I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine.
I don't know. You sound like a victim. What? No one forced you to do this job. Remember, people, it's not like this guy's fucking enlisting in the infantry. If you ever been in the military, yeah, an infantry soldier, not a very good life. It's rough. This is the deputy director of the FBI. These guys aren't crawling in the mud or eating MREs in the morning. This is a nice life. Yeah, you do sound like a victim. What he's sounding like he's complaining is, I left millions of dollars being a podcaster, and now I got to do this shit job in the government.
I did this, and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there.
No, I think you're there to fight fucking FBI corruption, number one, you piece of shit. And you've ignored me like a faggot that you are, and your ugly wife knows it too, you piece of shit.
All day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there. He gets in.
I know. You're right next to him. When he eats Indian curry, you're like, give me some of that fucking Indian curry because I want to eat it too. We get that. Get to your fucking point, you piece of shit.
Like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. You know, I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment, but I stare at these four walls all day in D.C., you know, by myself, divorced from my wife, not divorced, but I mean, separated, divorced. And it's hard.
A full day's work is hard.
Now, again, and I've said this, now the left, hey, everyone knows me. You think I'm a favor of the left? What you're going to start realizing to the people, if you're a true patriot, you're going to start realizing, believe it or not, that the right and the left, I'm not saying I'm a fan of these fucking left people, they both suck. And so what you're going to realize is maybe, possibly, you're going to work with the far left. Not saying we agree with the far left, but we do agree with one thing. Let this system fucking fall. Let this system burn. Because the far left will make it burn too. Now, once it's burned to the ground, we need to separate. Because I'm not a communist, and best of luck to you, far left, and make your communist utopia in California. Good luck with you. But you're both seeing that the right and the left, we're not in their boat. Think about it. Is Dan Bongino not the poster boy or one poster boy for MAGA and the right? It's hard to disagree. And what is he? He's a piece of shit. Now the left. So I'm looking at the left, not like I'm a fan of these people, but they're right.
Our colleague Carol Lennig today broke the news that man who, in his own words, said it was, quote, hard, divorced from my wife, from my friends all day, staring at those four walls.
I mean, think about it too. Think of military veterans that are divorced, that are deployed. I mean, again, you have to remember, this guy is the deputy director of the FBI. Most American men would be like, I hit the lotto to get this job. You know, think about, military veterans that are deployed, that are divorced, that are fucking sleeping on the ground. I mean, to hear this guy complain like that, he just complained that he's like, dude, I should be making millions of dollars doing podcasting. That's what he basically should have just said.
That guy, the number 2 official at the FBI for less than a year, is preparing to vacate that position as soon as Friday. Dan Bongino, who, as we just showed you, made no secret of the struggle he faced in doing that job, has, according to Carol Lennig's reporting, quote, quietly told confidants he plans to formally leave his job early in the new year. And
I get it, Giafontes. Yeah. Don't even think that. And that's what I've said before. Make it very clear. Trump is not going to save it. But do I think you should then vote for the Democrats, or maybe Mark Rubio will do? I think Marco Rubio, the fucking Cuban guy. It ain't going to happen, people. So yeah, I don't don't even assume or think that I'm thinking, I'm thinking maybe these Democrats have the right, they're a piece of shit too. But we have to call it out. This system is falling. It is. And this Dan Bongino, he's one of the fucking pillars. He's a fake fucking podcast and patriot.
Not be returning to headquarters to work this month. That's according to 8 people briefed on his account. Several people said some of Bongino's personal effects have been cleared out of his office as of last week. Carol's still here, and I want to bring in former Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI, National Security and Intelligence Analyst Michael Feinberg. Carol.
I don't know who this guy is. You got to remember, I left the FBI in 2007, so some of these people I don't remember. Meaning I don't remember, meaning I probably never even crossed paths with them.
He said he was, quote, divorced from his wife, but then he said he meant separated physically, not divorced legally. But tell us what you are reporting about Dan Bongino.
Well, we first started hearing that Bongino was telling his inner team that he was leaving on Friday. Initially, Mr. Bongino declined to really engage on the record about this. We kept doing more reporting, and as you see, we now have 8 sources saying that he told his inner team and some senior FBI supervisors that he's leaving. And I will add, Nicole, that the president has just recently confirmed our reporting, which is always nice to have the president confirm your work when others would not, basically saying Bongino did a great job and is according to the president.
Well, I mean, what we could do is look at Leadership 101. Leadership 101, what was the mission? Did you accomplish the mission? Then, meaning I said Dan Bongino quit as a loser. What was his exact mission? Now, if he said, my mission is to go in the FBI and, I don't know, change this protocol policy, and he did, and he left, then he's a winner. But are you kidding me? He went in there to clean house, to take away the government corruption. Now in a year, you think looking at you, do you believe he accomplished the mission that either one he promised or you as a taxpayer? Remember, he's not a podcaster anymore. He took money from the US government. He works for us, or he did. Do you think he accomplished the mission? Yes or no? And if he didn't, well, then he's a fucking loser. I think he's an absolute loser.
President, under his understanding, is going back to podcasting. What we heard over and over again was that Bongino was not going to come back to the Bureau at all as of December 5th.
Again, it's always great to ask these abstract questions. What do you think Dan Bongino would do if he was not a multi-millionaire podcaster? Like most of these deputy directors, they come from the government, they stay in the government, meaning he didn't have a job like Dan Bongino to fall back on. I think he would stay in the FBI. Why? Money. It's the best job. But because he's a multi-millionaire podcaster, goes back to the money, he's like, nah, fuck this. I want to make money. I want to have fun. It's about me. And then he's going to go and be a fake patriot and say how much he's all about patriotism.
And that he planned.
Hey, look at me. I quit the FBI. Would I go back in the FBI as a deputy director? Oh, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I fucking do it in a heartbeat. I have no problem. Anyone knows about me. I quit jobs and I didn't worry about the money many times. Even in Boeing, I was up for promotion. I was an ethical whistleblower. If I went in there as a deputy director, I would either do my job or I would get fired for doing it. Meaning it's either do or die. I would do it. Why didn't he do it? He didn't accomplish his mission. He's a faggot. He looked at his multi-million-dollar podcast and he's like, nah, I got better things to do. I want to make money.
And to publicly announce this December 19th. I know I can understand why Bongino probably did not want others to break this news. He wanted to break it first, but we've done that now.
Michael Feinberg, your reaction.
It was a short, tumultuous tenure, but in many.
Oh, by the way, the few FBI contacts that I do have are telling me the FBI inside is not doing very well. Not like I'm a fan of it, but I'm telling you, I'm not a big fan of this guy, Kash Patel. Well, number one, Kash Patel's also ignored me too. Once you lived a life like me, it is hard to understand America. Let me give you an example. I just need to do this example right here, and then we're going to go back to this. I don't think I'm 50 years old, and the life that I've lived is like 3 grown men put together. And when you have more wisdom, intelligence tells you it's raining, wisdom tells you to get out of the rain. once you have accumulated the amount of wisdom I have, you see the world differently. The first thing that I think of Kash Patel, it just stands out is, I'm going to assume you're a white man, American citizen. What do you think is your chance to immigrate to India and one, become an Indian citizen? Just one. Number two, if you become an Indian citizen, which you won't, what do you think is your chance of in India to get to a high level of political influence? Number two. Number three, or we're just going to say number two, work for the government. And number three, what do you think is your chance of being promoted to lead the directorate of the Indians' law enforcement and domestic intelligence agency? If your answer is fuck no, hell no, 0%, then bingo, you just won the West Point pot pie of the day. So when I see this sand nigger called Kash Patel as the FBI director, what does it show Americans? One, it shows that we're the least racist country on earth, that the white man is the least racist person on earth. I say again, if you disagree with me as a white man, I want you to ask yourself, what are the chances of you immigrating to India, becoming an Indian citizen, working for the Indian government, and being promoted to lead the Indians' law enforcement and domestic intelligence agency? Again, the answer should be 0%, which is basically the same answer and question for every other non-Western country. For instance, China, Saudi Arabia, it goes down the line, which again goes to the point why the white Western man, I'd have to say Western, because again, Eastern Europe, it's a little different. In Russia, Ukraine, it's a little different. We're talking the Western countries. You know what I'm talking about. Western Europe, America, Canada, Australia. Once you've seen what I've seen, you will realize that the white man in the Western countries are the least racist in the world. So when I see a sand nigger, now sand nigger is a very impolite word. You should not say it. But if you act like a sand nigger, you're going to be treated like a sand nigger. And what did Kash Patel do, which is similar to Dan Bongino? We're going to fight FBI corruption. I haven't heard from either one of those shitbags. So what do I think about Kash Patel? You act like a sand nigger, you're going to be treated like a sand nigger. I'm not impressed. Give it time. You're going to see this MAGA thing fall apart. I like Trump, but there are things that he's doing. He's running the company. Notice I said the company. I should have said the country. He's running the company like a global CEO. Not impressed. It's still all about the money. These people are not patriots. If our World War II veterans, if our founding fathers, George Washington, if General Patton was alive today, I have a good feeling they would agree with me. These people in our government, to include the politicians, and I like Donald Trump, but him and his rich kids who never served in the military are still going to be eating steak and lobster in Mar-a-Lago, where you're getting fucked in the ass by this sand nigger called Kash Patel. Think I'm wrong? I don't know. He's probably getting a blowjob from the Mossad Israeli agent that he's dating right now. It is so fucked up that you're seeing that you can imagine, David, if you think this country is so fucked up, why didn't you leave? You just read my mind. And that's exactly what I did in 2010. But this piece of shit FBI still wants to come after me and ruin my life. But they're too fucking cowards to communicate to me and talk to me. That's why, Dan Bongino, you've got a little dick. And everyone knows I would beat your fucking ass as me as the heavyweight boxer West Point. In about less than a minute, I knock your fucking ass down. Together with your rejected FBI application, that's why you went in the shit Secret Service. That's enough venting. Let's get back to the shit show.
Ways, at the time he was appointed, Dan Bongino was the perfect man for the job, in that he combined the emotional temperament and impulse control of the president who appointed him with the intellectual rigor and operational savvy of the director to whom he reported, and the respect for the rule of law and constitutional norms of the attorney general who directly supervised them both. So in that sense, his complete lack of dedication to the Constitution, law enforcement norms, and the apolitical nature of the FBI fit right in with the past year in the executive branch.
And again, you got to remember, I don't know this. I don't know if he's an FBI agent or an FBI analyst, but he's CNN left wing, but it is what it is. I'm telling you, once you start getting both sides, you're seeing the same thing. This system ain't working, people. It's not working. And that's why the one thing we can agree with the far left is we both agree that the only way this system is going to go is burn this system down. It's going to have to collapse. There's no fixing this system. But the normal right and the normal left want you to believe that we can do this. It's just the left that's the problem. No, it's just the right that's the problem. Just shut your fucking mouth and keep paying your taxes is basically what they're saying as your life is turning into a shit show.
But that said, I have not spoken to a single soul at the FBI who is not overjoyed at this news, because Bongino's impact on the organization has been wholly that of a bull in a china shop. And a great number of people have lost their jobs due to his fickle inability to recognize that people can hold one view in their personal life and not bring it with them to work and execute on their job solely on a professional, apolitical basis.
If you'll both indulge me, I mean, I think Carol is one of the country's most respected journalists because of her objectivity. Michael, you've spent your career in the FBI, and so let it fall to me. This guy is a freaking joke. He wears T-shirts that are obviously too small, and he went on Fox News and complained about how long the workday is as the number 2 at the FBI. The FBI, as you two know better than anyone, protects children from child sex traffickers. And on that topic, Dan Bongino had a successful podcast in part because he peddled conspiracy theories about Jeffrey Epstein and then got to the FBI.
So she's right. I mean, you got to. Everyone knows I'm not a fan of women in leadership. I'm not a fan of left, but Dan Bongino peddled his podcast of we got to fight government corruption. The FBI's corrupt. We got to do this. And then he became the FBI deputy director. He didn't do shit. But that's what he peddled. That in this, he didn't peddle that the FBI is doing a great job and it needs to just continue to do exactly what it's doing. Then he could have quit. He could have went in there and said, I went in there and just like I said, I think it's a great agency. I've always said it's doing the right thing. And I just went there. I supervised it and I agreed with it. That's not what he peddled. He peddled the same stuff that I'm saying. It is dysfunctional, like our country. It's dysfunctional. He went in there. He failed. He quit. Why? Because of one word, money. He's like, let me go back to being a bullshit podcaster.
And let Pam Bondi roll over him when they decided to cover up the files because Donald Trump's name is in them, a fact confirmed by Susie Wiles this week in 11 on-the-record interviews with Chris Whipple. I want to know if either of you can speak to the lasting damage or the danger that we're in, because a guy that is a joke was the number 2 at the FBI, Michael.
Yeah, look, I was obviously being completely sarcastic in my initial praise of him. His influence on the FBI and his impact on the safety of our country's communities has been wholly negative. He is personally responsible for the jettisoning of a great number of senior executives who dedicated their lives to the service of this country, who had collectively between them centuries of subject matter expertise in how to disrupt terrorist plots, stop foreign spies, and unravel criminal enterprises. And he got rid of them because he was concerned they did not vote for the right person. That sort of justification for raising an entire institution is something that we have never seen before in our country's history. The FBI is a worse place because of him. The country is less safe because of him. And the damage he caused is going to take us decades to rebuild if we ever get the chance.
I pray to God that when I don't know, cooler minds doesn't even seem like the right word, but when an appreciation of the centuries of experience that he purged from the FBI.
Okay, that's about enough, because like I said, you think the left really cares about FBI agents or military, but the left side, they don't care about us. What I want to do is wrap it up with this and leadership. And I want to do a very ominous, you could say omen of what I think's coming. And it's nothing new what I said. And we're focusing on Dan Bongino. But as reluctant as I'm saying it, I think one day this will be about Donald Trump. But again, I still can't see a better candidate yet. The best is still to come. We had a person named Dan Bongino. Again, I didn't know much about him, but when I got on social media 2 years ago, he is a definitely heavy hit. I didn't realize about him, like on the right, on patriotism, and man, Dan Bongino's the man. And obviously, he's got an ear with Donald Trump. He's the deputy director. So you could say he is a poster child, a poster boy, a poster patriot for the MAGA movement. And what is it going to reveal? It's horseshit. It's absolutely horseshit. And what did I always say? What does it come back to? Money. The same thing with these dumb fuck MAGA people that when I got on social media, they kept thinking, for some reason, everyone's afraid of crypto. Not like I'm peddling crypto, but they're always like, don't sell me crypto. Don't talk about crypto. And then when Donald Trump became president, what did Donald Trump do? He's been peddling this bullshit crypto. And I'm not all against crypto, but I'm just saying, notice the MAGA people change and they like crypto. And so what I'm trying to do is relate it to, I'm looking at the big picture. We have a guy like Dan Bongino. Give it time, people. What we're going to see is, you're going to see it just like the book, Patriots Betrayed. There's a lot of these patriotic posers, but in the end, these are fucking sellouts for money. I mean, this is a very historical, biblical scenario that always happens. I think George Washington had a famous phrase, there are very few men who could withstand the highest bidder. It's a very good point. It comes back to money. And so what am I saying about the omen? Perhaps today we're talking about Dan Bongino. Perhaps tomorrow it could be Donald Trump. And no, I'm not looking at the Democrats as going to be our saviors. I don't look, maybe the saviors are going to be the Patriots, just like in Revolution, that are going to say, fuck this. It's going to be, eventually it's going to go to violence. Once this money train, because it's all about the money, right? Money, money, money. Once this money train in America gets disrupted, violence could easily spark. And once that comes, I think a lot of patriots are going to say, screw this. And when I say screw it, particularly screw Washington, D.C., the central power. And perhaps a new leader is going to emerge. And that new leader is not going to be like, I want to unite all of America. Ain't going to happen. Where they're going to say, you know something? This is who I am. These are my principles. And this is my people. And those people may not be all of American citizens. And we're going to focus on them. And if that is with America or without America, it is what it is. And once the money train stops and people realize survival comes, you would be amazed on how much political agenda can be passed. So I say again, I still believe Donald Trump is the best president in my entire lifetime, but I don't believe he's going to solve it. The best is yet to come. For the same reason everyone drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah, man, I heard this before. Dan Bongino, man, he's a patriot, man. Dan Bongino, yeah, that piece of shit blocked me on Twitter, that piece of shit. Then he's the deputy director and he quit. I'm afraid that I think the same scenario is going to happen one day with Donald Trump. And then people are going to realize that there's no alternatives. I mean, you're not going to go to the Democrats, and you're going to look at the rifle in your hand, and you're going to think about our founding fathers, and you're going to think, maybe the solution is me with my people. I think it's going to come. It always does. Let me look at the final questions. If there's any questions, we'll go. I live in Florida. I'm looking at the questions. If anyone's got any final questions, let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate it. We're going to do tomorrow that video that again, if you've got any particular videos that, as long as the topic relates to leadership, it's a big and broad topic, but if it relates to leadership, this obviously is easily politics fall into leadership. Let me know. Tomorrow we're going to do that video on, I don't know, Chud. I've got the video. It's about the N-word, and we're going to talk about it. Until then, this is David Baumblatt from Terabint Leadership. I appreciate your support. And what will your support be? Not a dime. You don't have to send me any money, but what you could do is send this word out. Because when you report about government corruption, it's a public good. It helps everyone. Also, it'd be nice, me being a military veteran, former FBI agent, to do that. Say, yeah, he served the country. It'd be nice to support. That would be a nice add-on. But when people have a government corruption to report, and this is about the FBI, it's a public good. It should be immediately reposted, sent. Why are these politicians ignoring me? Why are these, remember what I told you about Dan Bongino, what a piece of shit I told you about before? Why are they ignoring me? Something's wrong. We know this. Cover-ups are happening all the time. The Epstein files. So again, David Baumblatt from Terrabin's leadership, I appreciate your support. To the Patriots, lead to victory.